time at the tournament. All right, we've got round number 13, lucky number 13 coming up, and it could indeed be very lucky for one of these players. That is none other than Yoshihiko Ikawa. This is a win and into the top 8 for Ikawa, everybody, on Domain Ramp versus Esper Midrange in the hands of Arne Huschenbeth, who is looking to stop him. Yoshihiko Ikawa, second at Mythic Championship 1 back in 2019, top 8 at Pro Tour San Diego in 2010, qualified at the Japan and Korea Regional Championships that he was so very excited to make it back on the Pro Tour. And buddy, we're so excited to have you back as well. Arne Huschenbeth, on the other hand here, Kaldheim Championship winner, has 7 Grand Prix top 8s and 1 title to his name on Team Channel Fireball this weekend. There's the players, and the decks certainly tell a story this round, Corey.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So starting it off will be Yoshihiko Ikawa playing Domain Ramp. Let's take a look at this list here. This deck is not really the most popular deck going into it, not really the most popular amongst what players expected, but this deck's been around for a while. You're trying to ramp up to Atraxa, have up the Beanstalk to get a ton of card advantage, as well as Leyline Binding only costing 1 mana. And I gotta say, its best matchup is Esper Midrange, and we'll pivot to the next deck. And that's exactly what Arne Huschenbeth is playing. So Arne's got to not be feeling too great about this, as this matchup can be really brutal. But Esper Midrange, this is the big bad of the tournament for Rafine, and then just kind of play whatever other Esper cards, and you probably got yourself a pretty good deck.
All right, so you're liking this Domain Ramp. How much do you like it over this deck, Corey?
I like it quite a lot. Standard, it's pretty tough to have any of these, dramatic 80-20 style matchups, but this easily could be getting up to the 70-30 type range, which is huge for Standard, because Standard is really about these minor numbers, these little edges that you gain. But if you can get a 70-30 and that's the most played deck, chef's kiss.
All right, well, let's find out if we're sending somebody to our top 8. You're not want to move, everybody. Marshall and Monty, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Thunder Junction. Marshall Sutcliffe with Monty Devuti. And as Maria said, we could have our first top 8 seat filled here. Only one of these players, though, is eligible currently for that honor, and that is Ikawa, playing for that 12th win.
Yeah, and I believe this is his 4th matchup against Esper Midrange this weekend. Overnight undefeated, 2-0 against the deck yesterday. Just got his revenge after that loss to Javier in the limited portion. Beat Javier on Esper the previous round. That's his 3rd Esper win. And gets it again against Arne here. So could really stamp the reason why this Domain deck is so terrifying is it has that great matchup against Esper by beating it a 4th time to lock up a top 8 that might reasonably have a bunch more Esper in it.
Nothing quite like nailing the metagame,
Yeah.
I think we're going to face Esper a lot. You were right.
Thank you.
As you can see, Arne is on 10-2 for the record, so not a guaranteed top 8 even with a victory here. But there's a lot of runway in front, and with a win here, you would like to think that Arne is in a very good position to convert. Looks like some pretty serious mulliganing here, Monty. 5 cards for Arne and 6 for Ikawa.
Yeah, both of these decks do have decent card advantage engines. The Ramp deck especially would like to build up towards a potential Atraxa and use that to refill, though of course that is a long way away. For Arne, really counting on something like Rafine to come down, that helps give you some card selection, and that can put things ahead. But losing your wedding announcement here, that hurts. Doesn't have an Anchorage in play yet. Looks like 2 copies in hand. Those can do some work by making those map tokens. But first you have to get them in play, untap them, activate them, and get attacks in.
It's a slow process there. Ikawa facing down just the 2-2 Knight from Ardendale Fealty on turn 2, but as you mentioned, Monty, turn 3 wedding announcement pre-end step was hit with Beseiju, so it's gone, but it does ramp out Arne a little bit there. In the meantime, it's Spelunking here for Ikawa as he builds up his mana base.
Spelunking is a really nice addition to this deck because it allows you to begin the process of turning all of these tap lands that you have to play for the deck's mana base to function into untapped lands, and that means you can't stumble in the upcoming turns as easily.
Sunfall was the draw step there. There's also an Archangel of Wrath that, thanks to that cavern, is now online in conjunction with the Jetmir's Garden there.
Yeah, and it is uncounterable, which is relevant against the deck that plays No More Lies. Ikawa could go for an Archangel here with just a single kicker, going for the Knight token there, but ultimately opting to pass, just leave up Leyline Binding, as well as having the option of having the Archangel with both kicker potentially in future turns.
Yeah, Ikawa says go. Arne kind of paused, and Ikawa said, yeah, no, it's all you. And Arne just said, all right, fine, I'll untap and hit you with this Knight, but I think he knows that that is not going to be able to go the distance as things sit. In fact, this is exactly what Ikawa wanted to happen.
Yeah.
It was the virtue of loyalty hitting the battlefield, but before it can even get a little glimmer from the lights in the feature match area, it gets covered up by a Leyline Binding on end step. And now we see Archangel of Wrath come down for full value.
Yeah, full value here is, of course, not the red kicker, but the black kicker is all you really need to take out that Knight and be left with the creature. Arne has the answer in the Go for the Throat in hand, as well as a wedding announcement to begin rebuilding, sort of, but he is very low on resources. Hasn't been able to activate one of those anchorages yet, and if Ikawa gets to Atraxa at any point, only 1 mana away at this point, that's probably just going to be GG on the spot.
This is Cartographer's Survey here from Ikawa.
2 land cards from the top 7 here. Pretty hard for this deck to miss, but of course not impossible. And that is going to be all Ikawa needs. Tapped, but Spelunky of course doesn't care about that, so it's not sending you too far behind, and that means that you can get these lands, have that Leyline Binding still available to you. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ikawa just go after that wedding announcement. Doesn't want Arne to have that.
And we see Go for the Throat take care of that Angel on end step, but that does leave Arne with no cards left in hand outside of the draw step for this turn. The Restless Anchorages do look like they're ready to get busy. Oh, what did he find? Oh, he found Rafine!
I do believe those lands should be untapped for Ikawa. I don't think it overly matters in the spot because he has Domain, so can still go for Leyline Binding plus pay the ward on Rafine if that's what he wants to go after. I don't think he's going to go after Rafine. I expect it to go after Wedding Announcement before Arne gets a card, considering he does have that Sunfall available to him as well. Doesn't want that enchantment to be left on the board. Yeah, just make sure no extra cards given.
And then Sunfall or what?
Well, it depends. If Ikawa hits Atraxa, we're just playing that.
Sure.
But if not, then Sunfall will come out here. The issue is those anchorages are still going to be available on Arne's side. They're going to dodge the Sunfall, and Arne is 1 land away from activating double anchorage. That's 5 damage coming in through, more map tokens being made. Even if he doesn't hit the land, he can activate 1 and explore with the map token. So it is still a precarious position for Ikawa that he does need to find one of those haymakers. Any of the Angels will probably do in this spot to really shut the door.
Ikawa fires off the Sunfall, leaves himself the mana to cycle the Spar's headquarters that he has in his hand, or to wake up the Incubator token.
Yeah, luckily for Ikawa, Arne found more or less a complete blank and a cut down. So that is a nice fade of a card. Don't think he'll be...
Does he want Go for the Throat?
It's interesting.
An insurance plan against the cards that can get Ikawa back in.
It is an answer to Atraxa. The question is, if Atraxa comes down, is that too little too late anyways, and you should get rid of this or not? And it is a big question if you're in Arne's seat.
Yeah, my initial gut is I don't want it.
Yeah, I think I want to bin it, but if Arne thinks that he can race through an Atraxa by clearing it off the board, and maybe the math here is, okay, I attack for 4 this turn, I activate the other map token, I get it up to 5, I kill an Atraxa and I can win. Maybe that's the thinking from Arne.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
You know, it's a little ambitious, but I think it is a recognition of the cards that you do lose to. I'm just feeling like if Atraxa comes down and draws Yoshihiko 5 cards, as it usually does, then, okay, well, you removed it, now what?
Wonder if Ikawa can find something else to help stabilize. Another Sunfall.
Those
and
are not it.
Leyline Binding. These do not work.
Nope.
Of course, this is the scenario that Huschenbeth does not have to worry about, right? The one where he just doesn't have anything.
Right, and now it's great because with that go for the throat on top, Arne can just go, okay, hit you with this anchorage, then you play an Atraxa, and assuming you don't have an answer for this anchorage that you can find off of those 10 cards, I'll just remove your Atraxa and kill you.
All right, insurance plan acquired.
All right, now Arne is set up in a position where the number of draws for Yoshihiko have shrunk, and if he is to hit Atraxa, he needs to also hit land plus a removal spell that can hit this anchorage.
Yeah, second go for the throat, not going to do it here for Arne. He passes the turn back. Ikawa has to have something now. Herd migration. Does that keep him alive? Not quite.
No, 3 life gained will not do it. The creatures will not do it. And I believe that is it. We are done here.
Restless Anchorages for the win? Great card.
Creature lands. They get the job done.
Geez, Arne found another cut down too, so a bit removal flooded, but this is just GG. And that's game number 1 going to Arne Huschenbeth, who picks up the game off of that Restless Anchorage and just rides it to victory. Now Ikawa, if he'd like to secure that top 8 seed right here, right now, is going to have to win back-to-back games post-board against Arne.
That was a multi-5 for Arne as well,
wow,
so he has to feel like he really got away with something winning that one.
Definitely. Does Ikawa have good answers for the anchorages?
Yes. Ikawa...
Didn't find them.
No, not really. There are answers in the deck. Not as many as you would like. In the main deck, there's only 1 copy of Long Goodbye, and there is also the 1 copy of Beseju that he had already used on a wedding announcement. But post-board, you get access to more Long Goodbyes. Those help a lot. And really, it's just landing angels. Once you land one Atraxa, you do a great job of finding more and chaining them together. And it is difficult for Arne to get through those and pressure while doing so. So it's one of those situations where Ikawa just needed to hit one thing, really, and failed to do so.
Well, he's got Long Goodbye this time and the Atraxa that he didn't have. So if this game goes down a similar route, he will have the answers.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ikawa, Arne has a full hand this time around, so
yeah,
the fight is going to be a lot tougher.
It's going to be Chrome Host Seed Shark ran out into this otherwise empty board.
This is really cool. Ikawa has a Cavern of Souls in hand that he could have used to make the Seed Shark uncounterable.
Okay.
And he has what it looks like based on our hand spotter, a second copy of the Seed Shark in hand as well. So it was a valuable cavern. The thing is, Ikawa is very much acknowledging the fact that Atraxa is so much more important in 4 to 5 turns potential time to resolve than this Chrome Host Seed Shark or the next one is. So I'm going to save my cavern, have an uncounterable Atraxa eventually. If you counter the Seed Shark, well, it's unfortunate, but this cavern is too valuable for that purpose.
That's incredible.
Another one.
And another one. He's got also a Jetmir's Garden to follow up.
Great top deck. 3 lands away. Cavern is 1. So 2 lands away from for Ikawa from being able to play Atraxa uncounterable.
22.
Go ahead. Get another 1/1. Right. 22. Okay.
Another land. That's not ideal. You would like to use Beseju to clear off a problem permanent, typically, that wedding announcement, for example. But when your game plan is Atraxa, when you're playing to that Atraxa, I think this turn we're going to see Ikawa play the Cavern on Angel. But there's a very good chance that he feels like he has to save this Beseju to continue making land drops.
It's really interesting. It really does show how important this Cavern of Souls happens to be for this draw because of naming Angel and giving a second white for future Angel of Wraths as well. Because it turns out that the Seed Shark and Atraxa do share a type.
Yep.
So he did have that option available, but Went for the Cavern of Souls on Angel here. And you can see the clock ticking upwards towards Atraxa, and you know Arne's fully aware of that possibility here.
Yeah, the existence of Archangel of Wrath as well as Atraxa just does mean that you have to play in a way where you can really prioritize the most important cards in your deck, even if it does come at the cost of some value lost.
It's going to be a long goodbye to say bye-bye to Fairy Mastermind there. Ooh.
Oh, and this has negate
Deep
backup.
Cavern Bat.
So when this resolves, Ikawa has to show the hand. It's Sunfall, Boseiju, and Atraxa, and Arne knows that if he just takes the Atraxa, then Sunfall will be negatable.
That's an incredible draw there for Arne.
Really good draw, and in what is a really tough matchup for Huschenbeth, he is getting all the right points to be able to overtake Ikawa.
Before scan phase.
Still main phase.
Yeah, now that the Atraxa is gone, this Boseiju has no value, so Ikawa says, I do not want to give you an extra card off this wedding announcement. I'm going to channel the Boseiju, get rid of that, but now Ikawa is in a lot of trouble. The best draw...
The mana is actually catching up to Ikawa here.
The mana is catching up. The best draw in the deck now, that Archangel of Wrath. You can make it uncounterable, you can pay the Black Kicker, get rid of the Deep Cavern Bat, and suddenly you are back in it. Arne does not have the tools to answer it in hand. So Archangel of Wrath, great top deck that would put Ikawa back in it.
Yeah, it's just another Jetmir's Guard, and that is the second white source.
Second white source, but that negate we know is a problem. Fortunately, this clock isn't very fast from Arne. Right now, Ikawa can afford to take some hits. Land into Atraxa, Atraxa into land, both of those would work. I think Ikawa will have to fire off the Sunfall soon just to make sure that he doesn't fall too far behind.
It's actually a depopulate in hand there for Ikawa,
5.
as well as the Sunfall.
22.
Yep.
Okay.
Go.
Well, with the depopulate, he can take his time here and fire them off one at a time. I think he may want to be playing around No More Lies, so he'll go with the depopulate first now that he has the 7th mana, making sure that the only counterspell that can get him here is negate rather than No More Lies.
Okay.
And then you have the Sunfall as backup.
And there we go, depopulate goes on the stack. And it does draw out the negate. Arne clinging to this clock.
Now here's the issue. Arne has No More Lies in hand. If Ikawa doesn't hit a land or a Atraxa, he's probably going to feel forced to go for the Sunfall, as this is going to be a 2-turn clock with that anchorage.
And it's untapped land we're talking here. And
oh, there is no anchorage in play, excuse me. Okay, so he's not facing anchorage at the moment, which is good.
Okay.
But yeah, untapped land is going to be big. Archangel of Wrath or Atraxa both would be massive. Atraxa, vulnerable because there is a Destroy Evil still in hand and Arne is able to push damage through, but the card advantage might be enough to help overcome. But if Ikawa can hit land into Sunfall here, pay for No More Lies, that would be massive because I believe...
Oh,
yes!
It's untapped land
There's
into
the
Sunfall.
land.
And he plays it first, and you saw that grimace from Arne because he went all in. He played out that Lorna the third path
And Atraxa's
as well.
back in hand from the Deep Cavern Bat.
Wow,
so
what
no
a
clock,
turnaround.
no tools, and now Ikawa has the Atraxa. This is a massive swing.
What
and
a turn
Arne
of
just
events.
hit another land.
Oh, you saw him go, Any tap land would have been fine.
And you can really see why this matchup is so tough for Esper, because Arne has been clinging to every advantage he can get, and it was the thinnest of margins. One thing goes wrong, and suddenly Ikawa is fully in the driver's seat. Cavern of Souls with Atraxa means that the door is more or less shut now, and Arne had just the slightest glimmer of hope that after a mulligan to 5, after a great start from him, he could have taken this match. And Ikawa says, no, I'm still fighting.
We're going to try to force a game 3. Yeah, Arne has to be on tilt level midnight right now. That was really tough. Just anything but that untapped land. And now we see a Troxa Grand Unifier resolve, and Yoshihiko Ikawa is doing the fun part. And that is going to be it. Arne says, I've seen enough. Game number 3 incoming here by the narrowest of margins. Remember, Ikawa is playing for top 8. If you get to 12 wins, you're done for the day, and you secure that seat in top 8. Now, Arne has 2 losses, so he's not playing for top 8 this round, but still a win here puts him really, really close to a top 8. So tons on the line for both players.
And this is really bad for Arne because he's on a Malta 6 on the play.
Okay.
Ikawa's hand is
18.
incredible right now.
Wow, that is
3
a lot
lands
of action.
with the untapped 3rd land into Topiary Stomper for some ramp, and if he can find a Cavern of Souls to make the...
You weren't even done saying the card name before
Ikawa,
it appeared.
Please, you can't just Vampiric Tutor like that without letting me finish.
Wow.
If he finds that Cavern of Souls that he drew, then these Archangel of Wraths are going to completely shut down Arne turn after turn after turn. If Arne draws an untapped land here, he's going to be so happy. He can go, all right, I'll Deep Cavern bat you, look at your hand, have negate up for a potential Sunfall, and then he's going to see 3 Archangels. Are you kidding me?
Go for the throat off the top for Arne, so he does not get to do all the things.
He can do
I mean, how
one of
much
the
action
things.
could Ikawa have, right?
Yeah.
It's just...
It's 6 cards. How good can they be?
Triple Archangel of Wrath, Leyline Binding, Sunfall, and a Cavern is the hand for Ikawa. Incredible.
You cannot draw up a better hand in this exact spot if you're in Ikawa's seat. Oh, no more lies as well. Arne finds the answer to the Archangel.
More counters.
Second Cavern as well. That'll cover the bases for any Chromos C charts that get drawn, and I think Ikawa is beginning to feel the top 8. It's not there yet. There's a lot of Magic to be played in this match still, but I think Ikawa is looking at this hand and thinking, all right, I have this.
Is it just a parade of Archangels of Wraths that we're going to see here, or does he clean up the mess a little with the Sunfall and then start doing that?
No, I do not think that with Arne leaving up mana, you want to allow him to use those counter spells.
Okay.
You name Angel, you go Archangel, clear off this Knight. Oh, you deal with it? All right, Archangel, clear off this human. Archangel, Archangel. You just do not play into it, I think, if you're in a Ikawa seat.
He named Phyrexian.
Oh, wow. Okay. He does have that copy of Leyline Binding. He may want to use it while Arne is tapped out here just to get rid of the wedding announcement.
He did pause him there, but I guess he decided, well, there's not a big difference here.
I'm a little surprised. Okay. It's possible we do have not the full info on Ikawa's hand, but it does look like there are 3 copies of Archangel, so perhaps just feeling there isn't enough pressure on him to want to run out an Archangel here, saying that, okay, I'll pass. If I use this Leyline Binding and you counter it, I'm still going to play Archangel next turn for double shooting creatures and be in a great spot. How scared is Arne? Has a second copy of Wedding Announcement in hand, can just run that out and say, all right, I'll draw 2 cards, transfer one of these into an Anthem. Your go.
Second main phase.
He says in the second main phase, I'm going to go for Leyline Binding. You see that second copy of Cavern of Souls waiting. That one will surely name Angel.
Now, notably, we are in the second main phase. Arne tried to pass priority. Ikawa said, I want to stay in this phase. So Arne has choices here. Can negate the Leyline Binding and then flip this Wedding Announcement into an Anthem. Or if he would prefer to have a Wedding Announcement that is on 1, he can let this resolve and then play the Wedding Announcement in his hand. Or he could just say, okay, well, I don't want to walk into a Sunfall, so I'm just going to leave up a counterspell and pass anyways as I initially intended.
That's exactly what he did. Arne passes the turn back. He's behind on most metrics here. That one's going to name
Atraxa
Angel.
off
And
the
here it is,
top.
the first of many Archangel of Wrath. And Arne Huschenbeth is watching this match dissipate in front of his eyes as Yoshihiko Ikawa. It has been his weekend so far, and he looks like he is right on the way to securing a top 8 seat.
And
Right,
this is
this and so I want to resolve this first. This
okay.
and this.
So just announcing how he's stacking them, as they are two separate triggers of what to shoot. So it is the Mastermind second, resolving the Night Shot first. Both of it, of course, resolves in the spot, and they are gone, with Ikawa gaining 4 life as well. And the Atraxa draw on that turn means he is 1 untapped land away from resolving the Big Angel. They closed out the game last game, and probably would do so again this game.
And Arne Huschenbeth just asked, do you have 4 cards? Ikawa was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But boy, are they 4 cards.
Yeah.
And if Arne, did he find a land this time?
No, and second Deep Cavern Bat.
I wonder if he's going to fire one of those Deep Cavern Bats off. If so, he's going to get some very, very bad news.
I feel like he might just feel like he's so far behind anyways that he has to play a wedding announcement here, but that may just be me knowing Ikawa's hand and say, okay, well, whatever you take here, you're in a lot of trouble. Arne could think, okay, well, if there's just an Atraxa, some extra land, some ramp in there, then I can buy myself enough time here with a Deep Cavern Bat taking that Atraxa. Even with the second Deep Cavern Bat, if he takes an Atraxa and the shields are down for Ikawa to resolve a Sunfall, he can follow it up and take the Atraxa again. But we know that against this hand from Ikawa,
and look at Arne's face when he sees this hand.
Disaster.
He just looked down at his hand and he conceded the match. That is Yoshihiko Ikawa picking up game 3 and advancing to the top 8. That is our first top 8 competitor right there. And the way it works here is on day 2, if you get to 12 wins, you're just in. Like, Ikawa doesn't even have to play anymore for the rest of the day.
Yeah, cutting the day short, starting out 8-0. He didn't quite complete the perfect run. 1 loss to, Javier Dominguez in draft, but still undefeated in standard. And you know what? He's got a nice shot at this top 8 if we find a bunch of Esper in there.
That's right. So 1 seat filled. We've got plenty more to fill up throughout the course of the day here. Let's head over to Maria at the news desk to set us up for our next match.
Can Simon Nielsen keep the dream of 5 consecutive PT top 8s alive? We'll find out next against José Neves.
Simon's playing the big bad of the format. That is Esper midrange, trying to get Rafine down and back it up with some counter spells. Neves, on the other hand, is playing a really sweet Sultai midrange deck that's trying to leverage early hand disruption spells and play haymakers like Shieldred the Apocalypse to take it down.
Nielsen Neves coming up after the break.
Welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Thunder Junction from Seattle, Washington. Marshall Sutcliffe with Monty DeVuti. Thank you so much for joining us. We are watching Standard at the moment, which had an exciting top 8 seat get filled there by Ikawa. We've got more big picture storyline stuff to bring you here. We're going to actually jump in to game 2 action, as it turns out, between Simon Nielsen and José Neves. As you take a look here, they're both on an 8-4 record. Now, for Simon Nielsen, we're talking historical level run already. Like, that's behind him. He's already checked that box. He came in overnight at 4-4, meaning that he barely made it into day 2. He probably thought it had to happen sometime. I just can't keep winning everything forever. Now he's won 4 in a row, and he's 8-4. He is, however, down a game against José at the moment, but with 2 wins here, he would keep himself alive potentially for top 8. If he does lose this match, that 5th loss usually is the death knell for top 8. Crazier things have happened, but realistically speaking, he wouldn't expect to make it with the 5 losses on his record.
Yeah, definitely feeling like he controls his own fate right now, needing a win. And José, on this Sultai mid-range deck, it is definitely a unique deck. He typically plays more unique builds. It's not one that we've seen too often, but it's a cool one. It's a cool take on mid-range, trying to attack this Esper heavy metagame. And I was talking to Simon at the end of yesterday. He was 4-4, and he was joking with me that if today doesn't go well, it is the end of his career. Not because he's going to stop playing Magic, maybe being a little bit dramatic, but Simon was playing, normally I play the decks that I enjoy and the decks that I think I'll do well with. This event, I'm trying to play the best deck, and so far it's not going so well. If it continues not going well, I'm never doing it again. I'm just going to always play the deck I like, and who knows how that'll go for me.
Man, José, this list is sweet, by the way. This is like a value engine. He's got Kellen, Hostile Investigator. You see the Sentinel of the Nameless City on the battlefield for him right now. He's got Preacher of the Schism, which we've seen a bit here and there. Shieldred, Liliana of the Veil as one of. This is nice.
Yeah, this is a different take on the black-green X mid-range deck that maybe we saw some of the members of Team Channel Fireball like Reed Duke bring. We're not seeing that Bronco package. We're not seeing some of the cheaper creatures. We are seeing truly a mid-range deck. Hand Disruption, Kellen Inquisitive Prodigy doing its best sort of growth spiral impersonation, giving you some ramp, allowing you to get ahead. And very much this deck is a different angle of attack as a mid-range deck.
And you can see the Sentinel getting busy here. Already used a map token, creates another one on attacks here.
Yep.
And it looks like José's content to just keep on mapping. He didn't want to go for the throw before, but now hits a land. That'll go into play.
Yeah, I think he really needed to hit a land drop there, so finding that off the second map, really good. And one of the reasons Sentinel is such a good feature in this standard metagame, Vigilance. This card just outpowers and, you know, outsizes a lot of the creatures and tokens that this Esper mid-range deck is able to pump out, and dodges one of their most important cards in the Wandering Emperor. So it can just be quite a powerhouse that Esper has a tough time dealing with.
Right now, that Sentinel is holding down the fort, but barely. It's just the only thing in the way from a bit of an army coming through, particularly next turn.
And
after wedding announcement flips.
I think Simon actually does have a go for the throat in hand, just prioritizes mana more the previous turn, using it on the Wandering Emperor. But I think now we're getting to a point where he's going to want to clear out this Sentinel.
Well, goodbye. José just has to say bye-bye. And that means that Simon Nielsen can get busy with his team here. so far, Wandering Emperor has already created a Knight token and a +1/+1 counter. But cut down is going to kill the Knight token before damage, so it's only going to be 3 getting across.
Still enough for Simon to get a card out of the exchange at the end of it, in addition to flipping the wedding announcement. 2 creatures on the board, plus an Anthem and a Wandering Emperor. It is a few different problematic card types for José to deal with right now, but maybe if he can just begin attacking on the sort of card advantage angle by getting down something like the Hostile Investigator, maybe that can start closing out the game by presenting a blocker for these creatures as well as going after Simon's hand.
Another Sentinel, and it looks like he's going to go for the map token activation immediately, but it's going to be met with Go for the Throat, which is not only going to kill the Sentinel, it means the map doesn't do anything. This is 5 damage coming across. Make a 2/2, or in this case a 3/3.
Yeah.
Pass a turn back, and Simon Nielsen is very much in the driver's seat. At this point, José needs to find, I don't know, some kind of sweeper or something very quickly.
You can see his pace of play from Simon has definitely increased because this is a grindy mid-range matchup. This has the potential to go pretty late, and you're down a game. If you win this one, you need to win another game. You really cannot afford a draw at 8-4 right now for either player. So he needs to close this one out fast and give himself time in a potential 3rd game where your opponent isn't struggling on lands as much and is putting up a better fight. You need to give yourself enough time to win that.
Disdainful Stroke takes care of Hostile Negotiator. Also, Investigator, excuse me, I think that José's at 12. He took 5 last turn.
Yeah, it looks like our life total is not quite updated, but it is 12 on Simon's sheet, 9. Both players say 3, so 16-3 the life totals now, and I feel like
if Simon can maintain
one
board state, right, exactly. Oh, big sigh there for José. He's staring down at 6 cards in hand.
Yeah, does find the land, but I believe it comes into play tapped, if I'm not mistaken. That was a Blooming Marsh drawn, and I can't really imagine a way out of this at 3 life right now.
Yeah, 5 cards in hand. And we're going to go to game number 3, Simon Nielsen. Boy, he has gotten it close this weekend, the 4-4 overnight. And now game 3 versus José.
Real tough,
but he
There's
somehow is still in contention for
don't even say it. No, he's not. There's no way.
There is no way he's going to convert a 4-4.
No.
He had a good run.
Yeah.
4 in a row. What more do you want?
I refuse to believe that he is going to top 8 from 4-4.
Greedy Simon Nielsen?
If I'm remembering right, at the last Pro Tour, Rich was telling me a statistic that no player in the past year top 8'd after a 4-4 start. Obviously, the first to do it would be Simon Nielsen, but come on, no. Nobody's that good. No.
Tail the suspect there for José. You may play an additional land.
I don't see an additional land.
That isn't what happened. You also get a clue. And it looks like we're going to see a crack to try to hit land drops. No way. No way. He missed his land drop twice in a row. Simon has Denick on the battlefield. Doesn't need that much, though. Any type of proactive draw here from Simon could close it out. Now, if he's got a bunch of reactive cards, all right, he's going to pass a turn back. This is very good news for José. He could have enough time to start hitting these land drops and deploying the cards in hand.
Found a land, I think, has a duress. Can start off with that, see what he has to work around. Still a lot to be asked here to come back into this game from this much of a stumble, but...
And my hands.
He's going to play Ardenvale Fealty to make a 2-2 before duress resolves.
Aclazotz, blot out, a second Denick, and a Caves.
So one choice.
Yeah, blot out is gone. Second Denick redundant. Aclazotz 1 mana away with that Caves.
This is so annoying from José's perspective because duress actually can hit threats from this deck, and it just all the threats were creatures in this case, and he took a removal spell that currently doesn't have a target anyway.
Yep.
Oh boy, this is lining up very well for Simon Nielsen.
Mr. Checklist card himself. Can he do it again?
Simon Nielsen, or as I call him, Greedy Simon, trying to go for 5 because, 3 wasn't enough. He had to have 4.
I thought you meant Greedy Simon because you know, he likes to take his time getting to the convention center in the morning. Just a casual bike ride.
I think he just likes to live life on the edge.
You think it's
I do.
the adrenaline?
I think it's
That's
just
what
an
he lives
adrenaline
for?
rush for
Yeah.
him.
Playing Magic normally has just gotten too boring.
Right.
16, 20.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ever since his third top 8, you know, he's got to cut it as close as possible. So Denick gets in. The token does die here to a cut down.
Plus.
And once again, Simon's going to pass the turn. A second cut down on Denick on end step means that that mana doesn't get to get
Land?
used to buy him back. Come
Looks
on, Jose.
like a land, but okay, it's a Glade. I believe that comes into play untapped. So
So we're
Can-
back in business?
yeah, can go for that. Could go for Kellen or Preacher here. Ooh. All right. Okay, Hostile Investigator. We're still here. We're still here.
That's a good one. Okay, so now we see at least a little bit of what was up. Denick goes into the yard from the Investigator, but Fairy Mastermind was the play there from Nielsen.
And my apologies, that is not a Glade, it is a Dreamroot Cascade. So blue-green land, really smoothing out the remaining mana here from José.
Okay, and to follow up, it's that copy of Aklazat's. It's on the battlefield now, too. Does Jose have some answers? A little bit of
Giving-
removal would go a very long way here.
To feel like a Bat God. Does it look like there's much here? 2 copies of Tishana's Tidebinder, but I don't think they are doing enough here. Though
They help with Aklazat's.
they do help with Aklazat's, I believe, as I do want to confirm here. If the Tidebinder can counter Aklazat's trigger, then it does lose all abilities for as long as Tidebinder is on the battlefield. That means no flying, no transform when it dies ability. So this could be a way here. There is a window, potentially.
So Simon would attack. Trigger goes on the stack. Jose casts Tishana's Tidebinder, counters the trigger,
lose
and
all
then
abilities.
blocks on the ground. Look at this.
Simon won't attack.
Simon! Too smart.
Yeah, we can stop after the sentence Simon will attack. He will
Too
not.
smart.
Fool me once.
He's going to come in with the Fairy Mastermind. Now, I will say, though, that while that's a very heads-up play from Simon, Jose has to be pretty okay with, I'm at 14 and I'm only going to take 2 damage, maybe for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
That's going to be a clue token here from Jose, perhaps digging for a removal spell for the Fairy Mastermind. Now that he knows he's not going to get hit by Aklazat's or even attacked.
Right. Does find to go for the throat.
Yeah, it's Simon.
Simon Nielsen.
This
What a guy.
is how you
Who
get
is
4
this
top
guy?
8s in a row.
How do we get here? How are we
How many
here?
people do you know that would just have turned that immediately sideways? I mean,
This is the Pro Tour, you know? Probably not too many people sitting in this position, but still.
all right, it is going to be go for the throat there for Jose as he takes down the
Denick.
Fairy Mastermind, and we're going to see
We back.
Denick come back from the yard.
Anchorage, the land play for the turn, so that's a creature land available now.
Interesting as well.
Still
Is
no
Jose priced himself into just hanging on to 3 mana indefinitely at this point for a Tidebinder?
I mean, the issue is, I think, when Jose puts down the mana for the Tidebinder, he loses at the moment, currently. Because then there is nothing stopping Simon from attacking.
And it's an avalanche.
Yeah,
Okay.
each attack is just going to push you further and further behind. But at the same time, now that Denick is here and you don't have a clue to sack, you can't afford to wait anymore.
Right.
All roads lead to pretty bad tempo plays here for Jose, just because he has been missing those land draws.
Yeah, and you can see the mana
that's
situation getting
yes.
worse and worse. Jose having missed that 3rd land drop twice, and since then done a good job of recovering, but Simon Nielsen ahead on mana, and we see Kellen on the battlefield. It's just not going to be good enough against this Aklazat's.
Yeah, ultimately these mid-range mirrors, very much like control mirrors of old, is about players being able to deploy their resources and getting their 1-for-1 or 2-for-1 trades and hitting land drops. Anytime you stumble against an opponent, things get really tough when they aren't. And as soon as José went for that Kellen on turn 2 without being able to put a land into play, already things were going to look rough. It was going to be an uphill battle the whole time.
And there it is, the big attack here from Aklazats as things start to potentially fall apart here for José.
Get a clue?
Discard a card, yes. That part's good.
We both get a clue. That's funny. 4 damage. 10.
We both get a clue.
We both get a
That's
clue.
funny.
I will play the Third Beach.
I think if I was Simon Nielsen, I would also be laughing. I mean, imagine if José decides to use his mana to start cracking clues. Like, there's no way that he's going to catch ahead. And look at this. It's Virtue of Loyalty now for Simon Nielsen, so this board is getting bigger. Next turn, the turn after next, the Denick will be able to start attacking as well.
Land? That land comes into play untapped. I think there is a chance for José, but if it's tapped, I think this may be the end. And I think it's a Blooming Marsh, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I am mistaken for José's sake, but I'm worried I am not.
He has a Gix's command in hand.
He has a Gix's command in hand.
Okay.
He has the Kellen
It's
on the
Blooming
battlefield.
Marsh. You're right. Blooming Marsh it is. Clue's going to get cracked on end step here from Simon because he actually has the mana to do that.
Just so tough.
So now what happens? José has 4 mana available plus his Tidebinder.
Yep.
Does that mean that Simon's got to pump the brakes on the Aklazats again?
I think temporarily you should.
Okay.
Honestly, I think there's a chance that Simon just pumps the brakes on everything for a turn.
Maybe just fires up the Anchorage or something, get some counters going. Ooh, cancel that order.
Unless he has a Normalize.
If he found a counter spell, then he can stop this Tidebinder from even
That's fine.
countering the ability.
Oh, says that's fine.
Oh, but before blocks.
And
Oh, and he has a Wandering Emperor in hand. So José goes for the double block here, trying to get this Aklazats off the board.
Yes.
Emperor with first strike would say no. Oh, no.
Oh, José, he kind of has to though, right?
He's priced in.
Yeah, there's the double block.
Order
And
like
now we're going to
that.
see a limited-esque combat
We're
trick
done here.
from Wandering Emperor, and you see how quickly Simon Nielsen turned
makes sense,
that
like,
game
that's like a
around.
Can't keep getting away with
He's
it.
9-4, Monty. Absolutely incredible stuff from Simon Nielsen once again. We should just be used to this by now. He still has a ways to go, though. That is not a top 8 seat for him just yet.
No, he's still a ways away, but he came into the day at 4-4. Essentially feels like he has to run the tables, but look,
He's done that.
If someone's going to run the tables at this point,
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he's done thus far. He's got a few more rounds to go, and he's with Ailey right now.
Simon Nielsen keeping the dream alive. Goodness me, we have been so worried about you. How are you feeling? How was that match? Do you need a cookie or something?
I already had a cookie. Dom Harvey gave me one earlier. Yeah, maybe that saved my day. But yeah, I mean, I go into that match. I'm against a Sultai midrange deck that looks to be an Esper killer. Like, no creatures that dies are cut down. He has like the Hostile Investigator, which is an incredible card in midrange mirrors. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy came prepared for Esper, and I just like had to lean on the flexibility of my deck. So I bought out my Raffines, my bats, anything that 1-for-1s, and I just like tried to like see if I could outvalue him, and it worked.
And you did. My goodness, unbelievable stuff. We are rooting for you. But I need to know, Simon, is this villain Simon or is this non-villain Simon in front of me?
Villain Simon. So I guess maybe he should awaken.
Okay. Well, let's see if next round, perhaps we're having a chat with villain Simon. Keep going. We want to see in the top 8 again, okay?
All right, I'll try my best.
You can tell even he's like, really? Like this, I guess I'll just keep trying and see what happens. So maybe it'll happen for Simon Nielsen. We'll, of course, be following that story. We've got more Magic to bring you this very round, however, where we have 2 Japanese Hall of Famers, Shuhei Nakamura versus Shota Yasooka. They have taken decidedly different approaches to the format, though, Monty. You can see Azorius control, which is kind of where Shota wants to be, versus the really interesting Temur Analyst deck from Nakamura.
Yeah, Temur Analyst, a very cool approach to the format and evolution of this lands-based strategy. Going up against a more or less creatureless control deck from Shota. Does have access to some creatures in the sideboard, but at least game one, no creatures for Yasooka.
Game one, Shuhei Nakamura picked up the victory there.
But it was a pretty long game one,
Yeah,
20-ish minutes.
Game two.
So this is game number 2 now, kicking off with Shota on the play. And he's going to surveil card to the top of the library there. Okay, so players just setting up their mana here. No fireworks thus far.
Yeah, the first thing I really look to immediately when I see this matchup is how much graveyard hate does Shota really have access to in his list. And taking a look, there isn't really that much in the main deck. There is a copy of Unlicensed Hearse in the sideboard, but certainly I think not as much as you would like. There is also a copy of Kutzel's Flanker in this deck, which has Flash and a mode of exile targets player's graveyard. So there are some graveyard options, but not as much as you would hope for, certainly.
We see Shuhei resolve an Aftermath Analyst and now a Spelunking as well. And so far, Shota just says, sure, sure. Just have a little bit of card draw going with that Clue token.
Yeah, it does also have access to a Negate, and I believe I saw a second counter spell in that hand, as well as a Memory Deluge. Does he have the 4th land is the first big question.
Negative, it seems.
Yeah.
He did have Get Lost. Wow, they are playing very quickly.
Yeah, after the first game one, already you know there is a time crunch. Shota already has 2 draws. You can see a 7-3 and 2 record. This is a very grindy standard format. These Esper mid-range matches can go incredibly long. So even at the blistering pace that Shota plays, can still possibly pick up draws. And these two players have been playing against each other for an eternity now in Magic terms. So
playing, testing,
yeah,
battling, all of it.
They've gone through it all. So
wow,
very much familiar with each other. Neither wants a draw to knock them both out of the tournament potentially.
Is Shota discarding 2 cards to hand size right now?
It sure does seem like it. Crack that Clue, untapped, doesn't find the land, and
I was going to have you like walk me through what a victory looks like for Shuhei Nakamura, but we can maybe shortcut it to just Shota doesn't hit his 4th land drop 3 times in a row.
A few more discards to hand size would probably do it.
Another Aftermath Analyst going on the stack here.
Cancel that order.
All right. Down it goes.
Disruption protocol.
What is the win con, though, for Shuhei in a matchup like this?
Typically, you'd like to overwhelm with mana. So once you're doing your stuff that requires you to actually put pressure on your opponent, all of the counter spells like No More Lies that are taxing your mana are no longer relevant. Shuhei going
this is
double
very
map
fast.
focus. This is very fast gameplay from the two players. Playing the Virtue there, getting back an Aftermath Analyst, continuing to stock your graveyard. This is the point where things are getting out of hand, because with enough mana, Shuhei can start doing these loops that will start asking a question of Shota turn after turn after turn. World Souls rage you. Do you have the counter? Okay, do it again. Do you have the counter? And eventually we'll get to a point where Shigeki is channeled, get back multiple rages, and things get out of hand.
You see the Unlicensed Hearse come in here for Shota Yasooka, but that feels too little too late.
It's a good draw. It gets rid of 2 Memory Deluges, so if Shuhei doesn't already have everything he needs, this could be good enough to buy some time for Shota to hit those land drops. But if Shuhei has a threat, if Shuhei has the ability to return a bunch of lands, generate a whole bunch more mana, and continue going off, maybe send a World Souls Rage or two at the face, then yeah, it's probably too late. Two copies of Rage in the hand, plus what I think is another copy of that Virtue of Strength. Could use that Garenbrig growth to try to rebuy a Nissa in the graveyard or another Analyst, depending on what you're looking for. Can't tell if there actually, it doesn't look like there is another Analyst in there. Only the one by the looks of it that is in play now because it was regrowth previously.
Yeah, this one has had a bit of a journey this game.
Bit of a journey, back and forth. Shuhei might be considering if he can just cast this Virtue of Strength, get it onto the battlefield, and start generating extra mana off of your other lands. But 7 mana is quite a lot, leaving him with only 1 land in this position. With 1 land in this position would mean not quite enough. Oh. Is he going for it? Titan of Industry, I believe.
Okay, that is correct. He gets the 4/4 and to blow up, in this case, an artifact.
Yeah, now this is the clock that Shuhei was looking for. Shota is missing land drops. Looks like he missed another one, I think, through a Wandering Emperor.
Just a possible number of land drops that he's missed.
I think we're done here.
Yeah, I know this is another way to end a game, right?
Yeah.
11U, 12U.
It's a rough way to go, but when you're falling this far behind, your card draw has not done it for you. Your answers were answered. This is how the game goes, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah, tough beats here for Shota.
You can play Get Lost on this Titan. You know, reduce some of the damage, but you're essentially telling Shuhei, hey, my shields are down. Do your worst, and Shuhei can do a lot here.
Right.
I'm sorry, what are life
So it ended up being 5 damage.
What are life totals?
14, 24.
14 for Shota.
After taking the 5 there. And I believe playing a Virtue and cracking an Analyst here should be good enough. I don't have an exact math of how many lands Shuhei can actually fetch, but it feels like it should be good enough. Might instead go for regrow a Nissa. Just regrow Titan. Okay,
Sure.
why not? Just end it. Shut the door.
And just make another 4/4.
4/4. Shield counter maybe.
Maybe a shield counter, depending on the sweeper.
Yeah.
That might be expected.
Pointing at itself. Depopulate. No longer good enough.
Right.
Is that a land?
What is the die representing?
It's a suit.
Shield.
Bears, can I get a shield, please?
I don't think we're
Game might be over by the time the shield gets here.
By the time we have a judge get a shield counter, I believe this game is going to be out of here. Yeah, World Souls Rage U.
Wandering Emperor to take out 7/7, but as you mentioned, the finishing blow is in hand here for Shuhei Nakamura, taking advantage of the
Never mind.
extraordinary mana stumbles there from Shota. I mean, like you said, every once in a while this is how it goes, but wow, those were horrendous mana issues there for Shota Yasooka.
Yeah, it's never fun when your tournament life ends in that way. It's how the game goes, ultimately, and, you know, until the very last moment, Shota fought, Shota tried to stay in the game, but especially against a deck like Temur Analyst that can snowball so much, that can take advantage of the immense heaps of mana they are able to produce. When you're that far behind, it's nearly impossible to get back.
That's right, and it looked like it was over from an early stage, and that is ended up what happened. So Shuhei Nakamura stays live, continues to battle onward, and that's what we're going to do here from the Pro Tour as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it will be Maria and Corey at the news desk. Don't go anywhere.